This is a slightly sexy take on your classic British beans on toast. Instead of normal toast, these beans are on a toasted slice of savory pound cake. The result is both obscenely rich and much easier to eat with a fork because the bread is so much more tender. Canned beans are fine, and something like navy beans would be more traditional, but this bag of black-eyed peas was the first thing I found in the pantry, so I'm using those, and I'll get them soaking. Overnight is great, but even an hour or two will help a lot. Dry beans absorb most of their water in the first couple hours. For the batter, I've got about 200 grams of butter-flavored shortening, but you could use a couple of sticks of real butter as long as it's room temperature. With that, I'm going to put like 60 grams of sugar, and then I will whip the two together until fluffy. A normal dessert pound cake is equal weights of butter, sugar, eggs, and flour. I'm making a savory cake, so I'm replacing 2/3 of the sugar with more flour. This is enough sugar to give me a subtle sweetness, and it's enough to cut micro bubbles into the butter, and that'll give me your classic pound cake texture, but you gotta really beat until fluffy. If you have it, a spoonful of mayonnaise helps provide some of the tenderness that we'd normally get with more sugar. Next, I'll start beating in 3 or 4 eggs, enough to get me roughly the same weight of the fat that I started with. Beat well to make an emulsion, and at the end it should look like a custard. In goes about 330 grams of cake flour, though all-purpose would be fine. I've got 200 grams to match the 200 grams of fat, plus 130 grams to replace the 2/3 of the sugar that we've removed. For flavor, I'm going to zest in this orange. That's nice in any kind of cake. And then I'll chop up some rosemary really fine to put in and make this taste savory. Thyme would be great instead. In that goes, and normally you don't put any leavening in pound cake, but I'll do a teaspoon of baking powder, again to compensate for the textural effects of the sugar that we're leaving out. And I've got 2 teaspoons of my kosher salt in there for flavor. Mix everything just enough to get the flour integrated and then stop. It should look like a wet cookie dough. Grab a loaf pan and I'll line it with parchment, but you could butter the inside instead, maybe dust it with flour to help release the cake. Batter in, smooth out, and bake at 375 Fahrenheit, 190 C. While I wait, I can unpack some new goodies for my wife, Lauren, from the Swedish beauty tech company Foreo, sponsor of this video. She's going to love this. It's the Foreo UFO 2, a delightful gizmo that delivers a luxurious supercharged facial treatment at home, like she'd normally enjoy at a spa. A perfect gift for your special someone who may or may not be yourself. Check it. You sync the UFO 2 to your phone. Then you put in one of the Foreo masks. She's using the daytime mask. Turn it on. Instructions and soothing music come playing out of your phone.
Gently glide UFO across your face and neck.
The heat, the sonic pulsations, and the LED light apparently really open up your skin to receive the complex. And honestly, it's about the most relaxing 2-minute activity you can do at home. You can personalize the treatments with your phone to cover any type of skin or concern. There's lots of daytime and nighttime masks and lots of colors to choose from. Check out the UFO 2 from Foreo as a gift to yourself or to someone you love.
I will use it again, for sure.
Thanks to Foreo for sponsoring this vid. Now, the savory cake looks like it's about ready to test for doneness. I'll just see if a skewer to the middle comes out clean, and it does. That took about an hour. Don't reach in for it with your hand, you dingus. Let that cool all the way before slicing. You can bake it the day before. Okay, beans. I'll chop up an onion and some garlic. I'm just going to do a slightly elevated version of your classic Heinz can of baked beans that the Brits would normally put on their toast. In goes the onion. Get it softening in some oil. Do the garlic next, and you could do some chopped peppers or all kinds of other things in here as well. In with the garlic and stir just to give everything a head start. I go back and forth on whether to use the bean soak water. My digestion of beans seems slightly better if I discard the water, so in the pot with those drained beans and cover them with fresh water. Or maybe do water plus a little white wine if you have it, and I just eyeball the amount of liquid. You can always add more as the beans swell. Heinz beans are tomato-y, so a big squeeze of tomato paste to start with, and the real secret ingredient is, of course, sugary ketchup. I'll probably add more later, but I don't want to drop the pH too much at this stage. Acid makes beans cook really slowly. I just want some flavor in the pot while the beans are absorbing. If you want more of the New England or American-style baked bean vibe, molasses is the ingredient that you're looking for, plus bacon if you're into that, but I'm not today. I will do some shakes of Worcestershire sauce for umami, but you could use soy, and you could literally bake these for hours, but I'm just going to boil them because they're already here on the stove. Black-eyed peas are pretty small and quick. These were tender in about an hour, and the sugar and acid in the sauce make it very hard to overcook beans. That's why such beans were historically baked. You could leave them in the stove all night and they would not fall apart. These don't taste nearly strong enough, though. They need to flavor themselves and the toast, so I want more tomato. I'll do some paprika, mostly for color, lots of garlic powder, even though I have fresh garlic in there. It's just a different taste, and some onion powder, and an enormous amount of black pepper, salt to taste. And then the other secret of Heinz-style beans is a little cornstarch, which I have dispersed in a little cold water to keep it from clumping when it hits the simmering pot. Stir vigorously, simmer, and add starch slurry until you have the thickness you want. Yes, beans contain enough carbs to thicken their liquid themselves, but due to their composition, beans tend to give you a slightly gritty gravy. Cornstarch gets you that velvety, smooth, and glossy texture that you may know and love from the can. That savory pound cake has cooled, so now I can slice it without crumbling it, and that's about as thin as these can be without getting too brittle. Onto a sheet pan, and I will toast these under my grill/broiler, real quick on both sides. I don't want to dry these into Melba toast, I just want them to be golden and crispy on the outside. It just takes a minute. Last thing is to freshen up the beans with the juice of that orange we zested. Orange and tomato is an underrated combination, and I'll stir in some fresh herb, which today is dill, but use whatever. Cake toast on the plate and just spoon on the beans. I can tell those have tightened up too much as they've cooled. I'll stir in a splash of water, and that's the velvety texture that I'm after. You could pick this whole thing up to eat it, but you can also very easily push a fork through everything and get it in your mouth that way. Sweet beans on savory cake, a meatless, inexpensive luxury.